Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Okay, pretty shocking. Got one of the most prominent or more prominent equity research and portfolio managers. So I just want to make sure I get this right, Brother Dowd. Enron was one of the most outrageous frauds in this country about broadband and all the monetization. That turned out everything they were putting forward were all lies, and so many people bought off on it. You're saying that Big Pharma, which is supposed to be one of our most regulated, industries, with a number of different regulators, both at the state and the federal level, but particularly the FDA, you're accusing the FDA of gun decking or having fraudulent research in the entire situation of both the experimental gene therapy and also the vaccine. Is that what I'm hearing?
Correct. Look, here's the bottom line. If the FDA and Pfizer don't release the data on the clinical trials, I'm assuming fraud. What we're seeing from the incidences of deaths and disabilities from these vaccines, people have been debating about the VAERS database, but now the actuarial insurance companies are seeing it in their results. One America released 40% increase in all-cause mortality, not related to COVID. A little report that went under the radar, Aegon Insurance in their third quarter results, and this is a Reuters article, said that their U.S. unit saw an increase in death claims from 31 million in 2020 Q3 to 111 million in Q3 of 2021. That's a 268 some odd % increase. It's shocking.
Here's what I don't understand. Here's what I don't get. You come out of the institutional investor community in Wall Street, which are fiduciaries. One of the reasons that people look to institutions that are fiduciaries, these are the guys at the highest level that have the most responsibility or held the most accountable. I see every day in the New York Times, in the Wall Street Journal, Financial Times of London, and on MSNBC and CNN over and over and over again, the top medical institutions and the top doctors in the country and the world that sit there and go, Malone's a crank, Malone and the people around him are crazy, Bobby Kennedy's a crank, that this stuff is all approved, it's the finest, the efficacy, and I got government officials, I got Collins, who mysteriously resigned, right, to spend more time with his family, the most powerful guy in D.C., but I've got every institution, right, from every hospital and clinic, and it's nonstop. So how could they all be in on what you're saying is not just a medical scam, but in addition, it's also a financial and capital market scam, sir?
Well, so, look, Pfizer got blanket immunity from liability with the EUA. If fraud occurred, which to my mind and what I'm seeing from their refusal to release the data, if there is fraud and it comes out and we need whistleblowers and it's looking more and more apparent that this product is deadly, fraud eviscerates all contracts. That's case law. So you go down the daisy chain. That's liability. That's bankruptcy for Moderna. Definitely Pfizer may be able to withstand it, but its stock price and equity value. Why
have other voices in the mainstream of medicine? The guys on MSNBC and the New York Times. Why are they not calling? You're calling for release of all the clinical data that will prove your case. You believe that this is all fraudulent. Why are they not calling for the release of the clinical data?
I don't know. Maybe because they have taken the vaccine. They trust. I mean, this is the most interesting hallucination I've ever seen in the financial markets. And it's not just, look, if I'm right, and I believe I am, this is just not fraud where people are going to lose money. People are losing their lives and all disability going along with this. And the bottom line is this. The FDA is the trusted third party, just like the rating agencies were. And a lot of doctors in this country, a lot of local governments are placing their trust in the FDA, which gets 50% of its budget from large cap pharma. If you don't think that potentially something went wrong there, with the institutional imperative, which is Warren Buffett's term for where the people inside the institution do it to the benefit of the institution rather than the stakeholders. That's what I believe has occurred. I think it wasn't any one person. I think it was just like, well, we got to get this approved, and I think they overlooked things. They didn't. An all-cause mortality endpoint should have stopped this thing in its tracks, and it didn't. And that wasn't made known to us when they released the Pfizer press release, touting its trial results in November, right after Trump lost.
Yeah. Or Trump, what really happened, had the election stolen, but I digress. Ed Dowd, how do people following your social media? We will have you back on. We will have you back on early next week to go through from the macro to the because this is. By the way, have they sent you a letter to cease and desist? Has anybody threatened a lawsuit against you?
No, but I also want to make a disclaimer because I knew I might be a focal point in this thesis, which I want the hedge funds to use and also do their own work. I am personally not short any of these securities I'm talking about. I do not want people to claim I have an axe to grind and I'm going to financially benefit. So this knowledge is free for the investment community to do their own work, come to the same conclusions I have. And if you look at the stock prices, it looks like some people on Wall Street are starting to do the work. And since I've been vocal on this, old hedge fund colleagues and long-only people have been reaching out to me and asking questions. Some people are on board. Some people are starting to get on board. This has begun. The stocks are in downtrends.
Are you saying you're not short because you don't want anything to come? You don't want any questions at all about when you put this forward? You're saying you're doing this for mankind. You're doing this to get to the truth. You're doing this for the country. You're doing it for your fellow citizens. So you're not going to have any, because it seemed to me if you did the work, you should short the stock, but you're saying you don't want any accusations at all that you made money off this, correct?
Correct, because I want to be a lightning rod and I want to get this going. And we know we're in a narrative war, and we know what people will say, that I have an axe to grind and I'm going to personally benefit. I hope other people personally benefit. I hope the hedge funds benefit. And I'd like to see them start doing the right thing, because if you're long these two stocks, you're long mandates, you're long government control, you're long a selling of your freedoms.
Ed Dowd, how do people follow you on social media?
On Twitter, at Dowd Edward, D-O-W-D Edward, and on Getter at Edward Dowd, D-O-W-D. I
don't guarantee a lot, but I do guarantee you will become a lightning rod. That sure is the turning of the earth. Ed Dowd, thank you. Honored to have you on today.
Thank you. Look forward to coming back.